Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on? All right. Well, here's the thing. We got the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has dropped below the 20-day moving average. Now, it's the only index that's dropped below the 20-day. The S&P still above, the Dow still above, and the small cap IWM is still above, but the NASDAQ has come down below the 20-day. Now, it's trying to get back above it. Now, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It does have a gap to fill up at the top, but I think the NASDAQ has made a high. I think we're going to go up, get a lower high, and then go lower, get a lower low, and that the NASDAQ is going to lead the market to the downside. Now, that's just my take. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got earnings coming out, lots of earnings. Next week is the Fed. The Fed will be talking, making a decision on interest rates. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but I do think the NASDAQ has made a high. Now, the S&P, the Dow, the small cap, they could still continue up higher. But the NASDAQ, technology heavy, has made a high, is down below the 20-day. And if it can't get above the 20-day, we're just going to see it continuing lower. We'll see how that all plays out. But I think that we've seen the top for the NASDAQ. All right, let's get over to the real estate end of things. Always fascinating, right? All right, so here's the headline. Falling mortgage rates getting home buyers off of the sidelines. Well, really? Falling mortgage rates making home buyers get off the sideline and starting to buy houses? I don't see it. I'm a real estate broker in full disclosure. I don't think so. Look at mortgage rates. What have they done? They were a little above 7%. Now they're a little below 7%. Does that really matter? Does that really matter to the buyer? And maybe a little bit, but no, it's not pulling the buyer off of the sideline. This is just Yahoo propaganda. Now it's funny. Gotta love Yahoo. Okay, all right. So here's the thing. The article goes on to say that inventory is rising. Now, if the buyer is coming off the sideline and buying, why is inventory going up? Very interesting, right? Okay, now here's the other thing the article went on to say. There's massive price reductions. 1 out of every 4 listed properties has a price reduction on it. Now, if the buyer is off the sideline, why are they reducing the prices? They're reducing the price because there's no demand. Demand is gone, right? Okay, now eventually some areas still hot. I know your area is still hot, and we'll talk about your area in a second. Still going straight up, right? Okay, so I have this friend. He's retiring. He's about my age. He's going to work another 2 years, and he doesn't have any money saved up, is why he has to work another couple years. So he's got to continue working, right? But he wants to retire. He wants to sell his house, and he wants to move out of the area because, well, he can't afford to live here. All of his money is tied up in his house. Let's just use rough numbers and say his house is worth $2 million. All right, so he's going to work another 2 years, right? Because he needs the money. He's got to get, to the age where he can get his full Social Security. He's going to live on Social Security, sell his house, have a little nest egg. He's going to move to Colorado. Okay, now a lot of my friends, you get to my age, they're either, some of them are already dying, right? I've lost a lot of friends that have already died, but a lot of my friends, they're moving out of the area because they're done with working, right? They work for Apple, they work for Facebook, they work for Google, and the area is very expensive if you're not working for one of those companies, so they can't afford to live here. So they're moving out of the area. They're moving to Texas. One guy moved to Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know why. One guy moved to Georgia. Maybe Georgia's a nice place. I've never been there. But maybe, but they're moving out of the area. This one, he's going to move to Colorado. He's going to take his nest egg. But my point that I tried to convince him of, that he should not wait 2 years. 2 years, his $2 million house may come all the way down to $1 million. And his nest egg's going to be reduced by half at that point. And he won't even have a nest egg because he's going to take that money to buy in Colorado. Now, granted, Colorado prices will probably also come down. So he will have, a little bit of a trade-off. But if he sold now and maybe rented for 2 years while he continued to work and then moved to Colorado when those prices are coming down, that seemed like it'd be a smart move. But he thought I was crazy. He told me his area, it's impossible for it to go down. You see, nobody dies in his area. Nobody loses a job. Nobody gets relocated. I mean, nobody gets divorced. It's a beautiful area. It only goes up. There's only buyers there, right? There's no sellers. He's going to be the only one that sells. Now, I hope that works out for him. 2 years from now, that may change a lot, right? But he's waiting for 2 years before he sells his property. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, I have a friend. He just moved out of the area. He moved to Sacramento. You see, you don't need to leave the state of California to get lower prices. Him and his wife, they're both retired now, and they're having trouble making ends meet because of the cost of inflation, the cost of everything. They lived in a little condo. Homeowners Association kept going up. Property taxes kept going up. Insurance kept going up. Everything kept going up, right? So they're retired, but they're running out of money. So what do? They sell their little condo here, and they can go buy a nice little house in Sacramento. Now, granted, it's 112 degrees in Sacramento today, but what the heck, right? I mean, okay, he couldn't even get insurance on the house because he's in a fire lane. Okay, well, Lennar, it's a new home, new construction. Lennar gave him special insurance for a year. All right, well, that's nice of Lennar. What's he going to do after the year? We'll figure that out when the time comes. But you see, he sold his little condo here for roughly 1.2, and he went there and he bought a house, a regular size house, couple thousand square feet for 600,000. So he made out, right? But he's got to live in 110-degree heat throughout the next few months. Okay, air conditioning, stay inside. Maybe it works out for him. But a lot of people are leaving the Bay Area where I live because it is expensive. The wealthy ones, they stay here and because they like it. It's nice. Weather's nice. We don't get to 110. And we got a lot to do in the Bay Area. I love it here, but that's just my take. Okay, so anyways, people are leaving the area. But you see, there's a retirement crisis in the United States. A lot of Californians, they can retire because they have their money in their house. They sell their house. They go move into the old folks' home or leave the area or somewhere cheaper, right? And then they can retire. But what do people do in the rest of the country? Well, they live on Social Security. They're hoping that Social Security continues to pay them, right? And I think it'll continue to pay them. But I do think that the value will drop by 50% of what they're paying. See, they don't have your money. It's a Ponzi scheme, right? You young people keep working because us old people, we need our Social Security, right? So you keep putting the money in because they spent the money that we put in. The money we put in is gone. So they're going to have to print the money to pay it out. And as they print the money, you're going to see inflation taking off even more. That 9% that we hit last year, that's going to be nothing. We're going to blow through that 12, 15, 20% because they got to print for Social Security. They got to print for Medicare. So they're going to continue to print. But that's the retirement crisis. Nobody has money to retire. That's a big problem in the United States. I mean, what's going to happen? Do old people just become homeless? Maybe that's the retirement plan now. But I want to talk today a little bit about the banking system. Okay, we had some big names come out. Jamie Dimon, for example, one of the biggest names there is. Trump's considering him now for Secretary of Treasurer or something. Okay, well, that's putting the fox in charge of the hen house, I guess is the same. But Jamie Dimon came out with an interesting statement. He said interest rates are going to remain high, that they're not going to come down, and that this is going to crash companies, crash the zombie companies, because the zombie companies cannot afford to refinance at these high rates. So he's calling for this crash in the stock market, right? And he's calling for this crash in the stock market that is going to be, when companies go out of business, what happens? People lose their jobs. And people lose their jobs, what happens? Can't make the mortgage. Their house is going to go on to the auction block, or they'll put it on if they still have equity left. But he's saying that there's going to be a crash. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be a crash, right? So you're going to see the stock market come down. You're going to see the housing market coming down. But here's the weird part. He's saying that inflation is going to continue to go up. And I don't usually agree with Jamie. But this time I agree with him, right? You're going to get a crash with inflation going up. People are going to be devastated. This is going to be bad. You're going to see mass layoffs. I mean, you haven't seen the layoffs yet. They're coming. I mean, you've seen a lot of them, but you ain't seen nothing yet. 4% they're saying our unemployment rate is. My last video, I think I explained how I think that's going to triple. 12% minimum, okay, because of the massive layoffs. But you got a problem there. Okay, now Citigroup, they took the other side of things. They say that things are going to get so bad that the Fed is going to come out and do 3 rate cuts of a 1.5 each time. Going to drop it 4.5 points back down to 0, right? 1.5 each time because things are going to get that bad. And what's that going to do to inflation? It's just going to take off. You see, the Fed is going to start the money printer again. They don't have a choice. They have to start the money printer because otherwise everything comes tumbling down. Now, when they start the money printer, you're going to see that inflation just explode higher. This is not going to end well. You see, the banks are in a lot of trouble. Why are the banks in trouble, Tall Mike? Well, because they've lost your money. They don't have your money. They have what's known as a liquidity problem. Okay, you take just the four top banks. Let's go with Goldman Sachs. Let's go with Citigroup. Let's go with JP Morgan. Let's go with Bank of America. Just those four banks have $200 trillion in derivatives. What's a derivative, Tall Mike? It's a bet upon a bet upon a bet upon a bet. Let's say you got let's say you have the stock market, right? Okay, so the Dow Jones, right? Now let's say you have an ETF of the Dow Jones. That's a derivative, right? Let's say you have a double ETF. That's a double derivative. And then you have options on the double derivatives. You got more, but everybody's betting along the way. This is what derivatives are. They got $200 trillion in derivatives. Just four banks, $200 trillion. There's not enough liquidity to handle when these bets start going bad. These banks are going to topple over. I'm not talking the little ones. The little ones are done, right? They're in that commercial real estate. They're going to fall away. But when the big ones start to fall, and believe me, there will be a big one that falls, there's going to be what's called a bail-in. It's not a bailout, it's a bail-in. They don't have enough money in the FDIC, so what are they going to do? Well, they can go to the government and say, hey, print, but their government's going to go, no, you're going to have to bail in from the depositors, bail in the stockholders, bail in the bondholders. You're going to have to get, don't worry, they're going to replace your money. You know what they're going to replace your money with? Stock in the bank. But the bank's going under, so you're going to have stock that's worthless also, and they're going to keep your money. You should read the paperwork when you open up a bank account. Now, I mean, it's like thick. It's a book. It's a book. Go in and open a bank account, and you'll see the book that you have to read through. People don't read it, so they don't catch it, that they're going to steal your money. They're going to do the bail-in, right? But this derivative is a problem, right? It's a liquidity problem. They already don't have your money, but this is a problem. When these derivatives go down, you're going to get what's known as a sovereign debt crisis. A sovereign debt crisis. See, the Fed is going to have to print so much money that, well, to be honest, the dollar is just going to go away. It's already lost 97% of its purchasing power, but it's going to lose the other 3% and go completely to zero. Now, I suggest, this is just what I'm doing. You do what you, I'll do me. Maybe you want to get into your Bitcoin. Maybe you want to stay in the banking system, keep your money in the dollars, keep your money in the system. But there's a quiet revolution going on where people are getting out of the system. People are getting out of banks and they're getting back into real money. Real money would be gold and silver of your country, the coin of the realm. Now, in the United States, that coin of the realm would be any of the dimes, quarters, half dollars that were minted before 1964. Those were 90% silver. Also the silver eagles, the American gold eagle, that's the coin of the realm. That's where you want to be holding most of your assets if you're a part of the quiet revolution, okay, where you're getting out of the system, getting out of the banks, going to the safety trade, which I think safe. Now, granted, let's say silver in the crash, right? When everything comes tumbling down, hey, maybe silver goes back to $10. It could happen, but then, I mean, so you might want to have some dry powder also. But if it gets back to $10, oh my goodness, load it up. Gold, maybe gold comes down in the crash. See, when the crash happens, everybody's losing all their money in the stock market. What happens? They get margin calls. What do they got to do with the margin call? They got to raise cash and they got to sell anything that has a bid. Gold and silver will still have a bid. So they'll be dumping those hand over fist. So those will come down also. Not as bad as stocks, but they will come down. Be ready because it's a very short time before they springboard much, much higher than they are here, because people will know that that's real money. People will know that the dollar is actually going away, that the stores, they won't even take your dollar anymore. They will not take your dollar. Now, a lot of people say they're going to take your Bitcoin. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. I love Bitcoin for gambling, but for my wealth, I want it in real money, the coin of the realm. gold and silver. This is just what I'm doing. You're going to have to do what you do. I'll do what I do. If you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. Why not? I'm Tall Mike. Get out there, everybody. Punch the subscribe button and enjoy the day. Bye-bye now.